number 9 of the high school football season right around the corner. And I think this is probably a week that we've had circled for a while now. Ever since the year started, we saw Mainland, we saw New Smyrna, we saw DeLand and FPC as probably in the 4 of the better teams in this area this year. And we knew that this was going to be the week, if all the chips fell right, that they were going to decide it on the field. And the chips have fallen right. My playoff beard is in full swing. Yours is coming along nicely.
Just think about the video we shot last week where I was clean shaven. This is what 1 week looks like.
I know. It's great. So Zach Dean and Chris Boyle forgot to introduce us because I was so excited about the playoff football about 3 weeks away. But, of course, we got to decide who's going to be playing in a few weeks, and DeLand and FPC tomorrow night going to go a long way in deciding that.
Yeah, let's start with DeLand and Flagler. Region 1-8A is just all over the place. I mean, 1 week you think you know everything. The next week you see West Orange beat Wekiva. We've seen Mandarin beat Apopka. We've seen DeLand go in and beat Seminole. It's almost impossible to really keep track of week in, week out. Here's what we do know. DeLand is in a really good spot for a wild card. Even if they don't win this game, it would be critical for them if they did win this game to give them just that last little bit of oomph to get into the playoff picture. So if they win, it could set up a potential 3-way tie for the district next week. If Flagler wins and Mandarin takes care of business tomorrow at Spruce Creek, then those teams play next Thursday for the district title outright. And if it's not, if DeLand wins, if Flagler would win, they would set up the 3-way tie at that point. If Mandarin wins, they control their own destiny. They can earn the automatic spot in the first-round playoff game.
I feel like we need that the ESPN playoff predictor. Yeah. Is there a scenario where all 3 teams can get in? Mandarin, DeLand, FPC?
As of right now, the point standings would have all 3 of those teams in the playoffs right now. The strength seems to be in districts number 1 and district number 4, which has Apopka, Wekiva, and West Orange. So there's definitely a possibility that all 3 of these teams can get in with the right set of circumstances. At this point, this game really can go a long way to determining which of those teams is certainly in the playoffs. DeLand has gotten at least 3 big wins this year.
Yeah, no kidding.
You look at the games they won away from home. They go to Seminole and win that game. They went to Lake Mary and put up 47 last week. You can argue they probably have the 3 best wins around here of any team.
I thought that Lake Mary win last week was really good for them, especially coming off, not saying they haven't been great the past month, but they've kind of just been coasting along a little bit. I thought the Lake Mary win, probably right along with that Seminole win.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if had Mandarin not had an Alabama quarterback who drove down the field in 80 yards. I mean, DeLand would be.
This would be your district title game.
Yeah, it really would. I think we both have DeLand, which means FPC will win handedly. Godwin has FPC. I think you agree with me that the difference in this game, I just feel like both defenses are so good and there's so many playmakers that the offenses it's going to be who can make more plays, and I think DeLand just has a little bit more on offense.
I think it's interesting because there's really not a lot of separation between these 2 teams in my mind.
Razor thin.
I think the special teams is a push. I think both teams have been terrific on special teams. You look at the return game. Avante Williams for DeLand, Jerry and Ramos for Flagler Palm Coast.
Yes, he's been great.
The 2 kickers have been very good this year. Steven Usina for Flagler.
Probably 2 of the best in the
And Drew Breitenstein for DeLand. They've been very strong. I definitely would give Flagler the edge in terms of defensive personnel. It'll help that they are supposed to have Dennis Shorter back this week in the secondary. Where I see the big difference in this is the offensive plays, and especially those big-time plays, where Flagler has been so close to them all year, but DeLand has consistently hit big plays. And even if they're not designed big plays, you see a player like Deontay Marks able to take one play,
get it to him.
One catch at the line of scrimmage and go to the house with it. You see Damaris Bellamy, you open up a hole for him, he can run away from you. There's so much balance and versatility with the DeLand offense, and I don't know if Flagler's quite got that same sort of firepower. And I think in a game where the teams are so close that those 1 or 2 plays is going to make the difference, I think DeLand can make them.
Which, again, as I said, me and you both picked DeLand, so FPC, sleep easy tonight. You're in good shape. Going from Flagler all the way to New Smyrna, one end of the area to the other end. New Smyrna and Mainland both coming off, let's just call it what it is, really bad wins last week, and I think both coaches said that. Both coaches would agree. Mainland just gets out of Matanzas by the skin of their teeth. New Smyrna looks great against Seabreeze in the first half and then just shuts it down in the second half. John Wilkinson was not pleased. Scott Wilson wasn't pleased.
What was the word he told you?
Terrible.
That was the only word he basically gave you, right?
Man, it was the hardest story I've ever had to write. This, again, as you said, this is most likely, all intents and purposes, for the district.
This is a winner-take-all game. I've double-checked it as far as the playoff tiebreaker scenarios are concerned. It's not the same way it used to be where if two teams were tied with the same record, then you'd have these other playoffs. No, if it's the winner of the game. If all the records are the same and everybody else in this district already has 2 losses, so the maximum number of games that one of these teams can lose is 1.
Right.
It doesn't matter what happens next week. It's winner-take-all tomorrow night. Between Mainland and New Smyrna Beach. And as you mentioned, neither of these teams is particularly coming in overly sharply. I think New Smyrna had like 94 yards of offense in the entire second half last week. Mainland struggled against Matanzas. There's no other way to put it.
What happened?
They turned it over 4 times. They just never really clicked. They completed, I think, just under 50% of their passes. The turnovers were certainly a killer. The Matanzas, give them credit. They knew that playing on their home field, they did not want to get embarrassed in that game, and they certainly didn't. So Mainland, you look at it, it's a game they want to get over, and they're certainly glad to pocket the win. They know this is their easiest way to get into the playoffs and make it 25 straight trips to them. And for New Smyrna, it'd be an opportunity to win the district for the first time since 2012.
I think we both have Mainland. I don't think either of us are confident. Nothing against Mainland, but I think it's just like these teams, number one, you don't really know what you're going to get because they're both coming off bad wins, and they didn't play well. And I think that New Smyrna's really closed that gap on Mainland, especially, again, I know we just talked about the DeLand and FEC, but this game, I feel like the New Smyrna offense can make more plays potentially.
What I think you're going to get is 2 mentally sharp teams. I think that both of these teams are going to be well prepared and well disciplined, or whatever you want to call it, from seeing what was on film last week. I definitely think you're going to see a more complete performance out of the 2 teams. You look at the personnel of these games. The big question for me, for New Smyrna, is their interior line trying to stop Kevon McCrary from wrecking shop and allowing those linebackers to shoot the gaps. Their offense runs through Enoch Carter, and everybody knows it. They certainly have the capacity to hit a deep passing play here or there, but they want to run the football. They want to take it out of the hands of the quarterback. They don't want to turn it over and throw it into a Mainland secondary that's made some teams pay this year. And on the flip side of it, for New Smyrna, I think they're going to have to drop in and really kind of focus on DeAndre McMillan, of course, and then Teron Keith as a runner and as a passer. With the number of weapons they have on the perimeter, they can do a number of different things. I want to see what game plan they roll with. Do they try to just run it at New Smyrna? Do they try to go out on the perimeter and challenge those corners?
Those are the 2 big games this week. You're going to be at that one. I'm going to be up in Flagler for the DeLand game. A couple other quick hitters, Spruce Creek and Mandarin. We kind of talked about how those 2 are playing each other. Atlantic and Mount Dora, I think, are probably the 2 other big games this week.
Yeah, and Deltona Seabreeze. Deltona still has a shot. You look at the points; they're only a couple points out of the playoff picture right now. If they run the table, they've got Seabreeze. Matanzas will help them because they get the extra points as a playoff participant. And then Childs, if they can win those 3 games down the stretch, they might have a shot at getting in. Atlantic's got a must-win game against Mount Dora. A big opportunity for them to pick up some extra points because Mount Dora is a 3-win team right now. It's one of the better teams on their schedule that they faced so far. Right. And Mandarin and Spruce Creek. You think about Spruce Creek, we talked about them potentially as a spoiler last week against Flagler. They did it against Mandarin 2 years ago. You remember that?
I was at that game.
Yeah, and they blew Mandarin out of the water.
That was the beginning of the district run, yeah.
Right, and then they weren't expected to win that game. So, Mandarin should be ready for Creek to throw everything they've got left at them.
4 games left or 3 games left starting tomorrow?
3.
3 games?
Yeah,
plus
3 weeks.
Oh, my gosh. Buckle up. Buckle up. Zach Dean, Chris Boyle, we will see you Friday night.